Good evening, members of the Diocese of South Carolina. It's August 2nd, the end of a long, full day here at Lambeth, and I wanted to share with you just a little bit my reflections of the events of this day. As many of you know, this was the day when the bishops engaged the call on human dignity, which has embedded in it paragraphs about human sexuality and about marriage. As some of you know, just before Lambeth, there were additions added to this call, including a reference to and call upon us to reaffirm a resolution from more than 20 years ago at Lambeth 1998, Resolution 110, which affirms a one man, one woman understanding of marriage. This caused great concern for many of us. You may have read what I wrote about this prior to coming to Lambeth. It was coupled with another change, which was rather than simply having conversation and prayer about these topics, right before Lambeth, we were told we would have clickers to either affirm the calls or refer them for further study. These two changes together seem to be setting us up for the possibility of further division in our communion when we know that we are not of one mind across the communion on matters of marriage equality. And so we were greatly concerned about that. I'm happy to say to you that the design team worked hard along with the Archbishop of Canterbury to respond to those concerns. The result was that today yielded a much different result than we had feared it might. We were able to together discuss the call, which replaced the last-minute change with a section that was more descriptive than proscriptive, simply describing the range of views across the communion, thereby giving a place for each of us to find ourselves in that description, to find our province. And it also acknowledged that we in our province and the provinces who have affirmed marriage equality have done so after a long season of discernment, biblical and theological discernment. I felt that we were able to talk at my table very frankly about our differences from my point of view, to talk about our beloved LGBTQ bishops and their spouses and the pain that they have experienced, the struggle in our country and in our province of LGBTQ members of our community, and the importance to us of standing on the side of love in this matter. We had people at our table from South Sudan, from Malaysia, from Australia, from England. We had the Archbishop of South Africa. So we were a widely diverse table, and our theological views and our views on marriage were not aligned around our table. We had very honest conversation about that. We listened to one another. We asked one another pointed questions respectfully. And at the end, all around our table, we were able to affirm the call as it is expressed now. We stood in affirmation and in prayer. Afterwards, one of the members of my table group, who is from South Sudan, shared with me how important he thinks it is for us to continue being in fellowship with one another across the Anglican Communion despite these differences. He said, "We are changed by being together." Yesterday, Archbishop Mambo from Tanzania ended his meditation by calling to mind the image from the train system, his railway system, of minding the gap. He talked about how important it is for us in the communion to mind the gap between us, to take care with it so that we can continue and fellowship and to be transformed by one another. He said to us, not only do the differences among us not destroy us, but rather they, in fact, can be our salvation. This, to me, was one of the most powerful statements that came out of yesterday's conversations. The other night, I was invited by one bishop from Burundi and one bishop from the Congo to share beer together in our kitchen in our dormitory. And we talked about all of the range of issues that have been coming up here, all of the vastly important things that we can speak to together as bishops around the globe. We then also talked about the differences among us in our views on marriage and on human sexuality. Each of these two bishops, neither of whom agrees with me on human sexuality, said to me, it is so important for us to be at communion together, at the table together, and to be in fellowship together, and to stay in communion and not absent ourselves. I found this to be really wisdom, and I was so grateful to have that time with them. I am profoundly moved by the courage of our gay and lesbian bishops and their spouses who are here, who are fully engaging, who are inspiring all of us with their witness. This evening, we heard from the former president of Ireland in a gathering of those who are allies and who are LGBT members of our communion and who are allies. And she spoke in compelling ways about the work that lies ahead for us as religious leaders to continue in the important struggle for justice for LGBTQ persons. This conference is a place where we are able to listen to voices that we do not get to hear in our daily lives, people whose vastly different life experiences from our own are sitting across from us at lunch, next to us on a bus. This gives opportunity for transformation. It's happening for me in my heart and my thinking. I am so grateful for this opportunity. A bishop said to me today, I think what this is really about is our being transformed by one another and then taking the ways in which we are changed back to our own diocese for the benefit of the people we serve. My prayer is that I will be able to do just that when I return to you in South Carolina. Thank you for this deep honor of representing you here. I hope you're well. I miss you, and I look forward to seeing you when I get back. God bless you. Bye-bye.